measurement. So when we say measurement, it refers to determining the attribute or dimension of an object, skills, or knowledge. We could use common objects in the physical world such as tapes, scales, and meters. However, in assessment learning, we are going to use row scores, percentile ranks, or standard scores. So for example, a teacher will give a quiz on his or her students. So the scores they got from the quiz will serve as the measurement if they got enough knowledge on the discussion. So remember that as a teacher, you will not judge his or her scores as pass or failed. Instead, you have to get their scores in order for you to know that they have acquired certain knowledge from your discussion. Another word is assessment. So assessment is a broader term that includes testing. The purpose of assessment is to improve student learning and provide students, parents, and teachers with reliable information regarding students' progress and extent of attainment of the expected learning outcomes. We must remember that in assessment, we must possess the following characteristics: reliability, validity, practicability, justness, and morality. Assessment also helps instructors and students monitor progress towards achieving the learning objectives. There are two types of assessment. It includes formative and summative. So some examples of assessments are final projects, final presentations, final exams, final essays, and standardized tests.
Another keyword in assessment of learning is test. So a test is one form of assessment where it refers to procedures used to measure learners' learning at a specific point in time and often involves collecting information in a numerical form. Example of test given to students is multiple choice and gap fill, where the students can select letters for their chosen answers. Another keyword in assessment of learning is evaluation. So according to WIS 1972, evaluation refers to the systematic gathering of information for the purpose of making decisions. It is not concerned with the assessment of the performance of the students, but rather with forming an idea of the curriculum and making judgment about this. So this judgment is made based on some kind of criteria and evidence. The purpose is to make decisions about the worth of instruction, a course, or even the whole curriculum. Another, evaluation is thus larger and may include an analysis of all the aspects of the educational system. So example, the teachers may give recommendation to the students so that the students may strive for the next activity.
Another keyword in assessment of learning is the outcomes. Outcomes, it is something that a teacher needs to see. It is an indicator whether a learner or a student learned from the lesson or he or she needs improvement or assistance. We have 4 different levels of outcomes. First, institutional outcomes. Second, the program outcomes. Third is the course outcomes. And lastly, the learning outcomes. For the institutional outcomes, it reflects the vision, mission, the philosophy, and the core values of the institution. They are the outcomes that are embedded in the graduate students in the institution. It is where the knowledge, the skills, the abilities, and the attitudes that our students are expected to have or develop due to the overall experiences in the institution. For instance, a DDOSC graduate is an effective teacher, agriculturist, knowledgeable, responsible, and among others. On the other hand, program outcomes are what graduates of a certain educational degree or outcomes can do at the completion of the degree. For example, an institution that offers Bachelor of Secondary Education, Bachelor of Elementary Education, BS in Criminology, and among others. Whereas course outcomes are outcomes that are expected to every student in the course or it is referred to as the subject. For example, the subject modern geometry and many other subjects. Lastly, the learning outcomes. Learning outcomes, it is your instructional target in the classroom, or it relates to the objective of every lesson. Hence, they are specific, measurable, clear, accessible, defining what a student can demonstrate at the end of the lesson. Therefore, to achieve the best results or outcomes to your teaching, the outcome levels should be interacted or related to each other. Thus, the realization of the learning outcomes leads to the attainment of the other outcomes. Standards, like goals, are statements of what students should know and be able to do. However, standards are typically more narrow in scope and more amenable to assessment than goals. For example, schools and teachers can set standards to their students, but not all students can achieve or meet those standards because the students have different level of knowledge.
Another one is indicator. An indicator is specific, observable, and measurable characteristics that can be used to show changes and progress of a program in making toward achieving a specific outcome. Indicator can be either qualitative or quantitative. If you ask me, how many indicators are enough in each outcome? Okay, in each outcome, there should be at least 1 or 2 indicators. For example, program outcomes. In our program outcomes, demonstrate working knowledge in the areas of financial accounting and reporting. So our possible indicator is prepare general purpose for financial reports in accordance with generally occupied accounting standards. Another one is benchmark. Benchmark refers to assessment that measures students against institution standards and learning goals. It may be set for individual students or for institution when ranking themselves against others. And also, it may be set at the beginning of a course for the set of concepts that students should know by the end of the term. In other words, benchmark are used to assess progress towards your end goals. And also, benchmarking allows educators to identify students' strengths and weaknesses which can then inform their future instruction. And benchmark involves setting measurable standards for evaluating one's learning. For example, used to see where a particular student, class, or even school ranks comparison to others.
Another keyword for assessment and learning. Norms are behavior and attitudes that are typically of approve with a group. Also, it is a rules that defines our expectations toward appropriate behaviors. Example, respect others and yourself. Second, raise your hand before talking. Another keyword for assessment and learning. Criteria is specifying the standards that must be met and the evidence that will gathered to demonstrate the achievement of learning outcomes. For example, make good use of resources. Second, suggest creative ideas to make the activities more interesting. Third, make flexible use of improved learn skills for better performance.
So those are the different keywords in assessment of learning. Remember the difference between each keyword as it was interchangeably interpreted by some people.
Hope you like this video, so don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates and for more upcoming videos. Bye guys!
note that in assessment,
Pistot ka. Ano din ako yan ko maganda. Hi. Laban ta dira ang mga nga side. Dili ibang labay ang cellphone.
Wala na po.
Wow.